At 86, Tom Brokaw finally tells the truth about Savannah Guthrie, and what he revealed about her mother will make you look at this disappearance completely differently. It's Monday night, February 9th, 2026. The 5 p.m. ransom deadline in Tucson came and went 4 hours ago. No wallet address arrived, no proof of life photo, no new message, at least none that has been made public. The silence is deafening. And in the middle of that silence, something else happened today that almost no one saw coming. Tom Brokaw, 86 years old, the voice that defined network news for a generation, the man who anchored NBC nightly news through wars, elections, 9/11, and 5 different decades, broke a long personal silence. He did not do it on television. He did not do it in an interview. He did not write an op-ed. He spoke quietly and deliberately to a small group of former colleagues and longtime friends who gathered at his home in New York this afternoon. 8 people total. No press, no cameras, no recordings allowed. Just coffee, a few chairs pulled into a circle, and Tom, still sharp, still measured, finally saying what he has carried for years. One of those 8 people called me tonight at 7:14 p.m. Eastern and asked if I wanted to know what was said. I did. What follows is not rumor, not speculation, not anonymous sourcing dressed up as fact. This is what Tom Brokaw told those 8 people this afternoon, recounted to me in detail by someone who was sitting 3 feet away. And yes, it goes straight to the heart of why Savannah Guthrie is moving through this nightmare the way she is. Here's what Tom said. Tom began without preamble. I've known Savannah since she was the new kid on the 4th floor at 30 Rock. She was 30, maybe 31. Hungry, polished, polite to a fault. But there was something else I noticed right away. Something I recognized because I'd seen it before in other people who grew up under a certain kind of parent. He paused. She carried her mother around with her like a second heartbeat. Not in a sentimental way, not in a call mom every Sunday way, in a mom is still in the control booth way. And I don't think most people understand how absolute that control has always been. Tom leaned forward slightly. Those who were there said he looked like he was delivering a story he had rehearsed in his head for a long time. Nancy Guthrie didn't raise 3 kids after her husband died by being soft. She raised them by being unbreakable. And she demanded the same from them, not cruelty, necessity. She believed the world would punish weakness, so she made damn sure her children never showed any. Savannah learned that lesson earlier and deeper than most children learn anything. He gave a specific memory that none of the 8 had heard before. When Savannah was offered the Today Show co-anchor chair, the biggest promotion of her career, she didn't call her agent first. She didn't call her husband first. She called Nancy. Tom said Savannah later told him the conversation. Mom, they want me to co-anchor the Today Show. Nancy's reply, according to what Savannah shared, was, that's fine, but don't let it go to your head and don't let them see you sweat. You're there to work, not to be liked. Tom looked around the room. She told me that story with pride. Pride, not resentment. She was proud that her mother had reminded her to stay grounded at the exact moment most people would be screaming with joy. That is the economy they've lived in since Savannah was a girl. Approval is granted for discipline, not for emotion. Love is proven through performance, not through need. He let that settle, then continued. Now, watch what's happening this week. Watch how Savannah speaks to the camera. Watch how she structures every sentence. Thank the public. Describe her mother's character. Acknowledge the ransom reports. Then, and only then, make the direct plea. That is not instinct. That is trained. That is Nancy's choreography. Savannah is still executing the steps exactly the way she was taught. Never let them see panic. Never let them see desperation. Never let them see you lose control. Because control is the only currency that ever bought her mother's respect. One of the people asked, do you think Nancy would actually disapprove if Savannah fell apart on camera right now? Tom didn't hesitate. I think Nancy would be appalled. Not because she doesn't love her daughter. God knows she does. But because she spent 46 years teaching Savannah that the moment you let emotion take over, you lose. And Nancy never lost. Not when her husband died. Not when she raised 3 kids alone. Not when life kicked her in the teeth. She didn't cry in public. She didn't beg. She fixed it, and she expected the same from her children. He added something that felt almost painful to hear. I've seen Savannah cry exactly twice in all the years I've known her. Once when she told me about her father-in-law's death. Once when she talked about her own daughters facing something hard. Both times she stopped herself within seconds. wiped her eyes, smiled, changed the subject. That isn't strength. That's conditioning. And right now, that conditioning is the only thing keeping her upright. And it's also the thing that might eventually crush her. Tom moved to the second video, the February 7th plea. When she said, "We will pay," I felt something turn in my stomach. Not because the words were wrong, they were necessary, but because of how she delivered them, like she was reading terms of surrender in a treaty negotiation. No tremor, no visible anguish, just clarity, resolve, dignity. He shook his head slowly. That is not how most daughters would sound when offering millions for their mother's life. That is how a soldier sounds when reporting to command. And Savannah is still reporting to command. Even when command is missing, even when command is in danger, even when command might be dying without her medication, the chain of command is still intact inside her head. And she is still following orders. Someone asked the question everyone was thinking. Do you believe she's going to be able to keep that up if this goes on another week, another month? Tom's answer was quiet, but it landed hard. I don't know. I honestly don't know. She's already running on fumes. You can see it in her eyes in those videos. The light is dimming, but she won't let it go out. Not yet. Because letting it go out would mean admitting she can't fix this. And admitting she can't fix it would mean admitting she's failed her mother. And that is the one verdict she has spent her entire life trying to avoid. He told one more story, short, but devastating. About 10 years ago, Savannah was going through a very difficult stretch personally. She never told me the details. But one morning, she came in early, sat down next to me in the makeup room, and said, almost in a whisper, "I called Mom last night. I told her I was struggling. She said, 'You've handled worse. Handle this.' So I'm handling it." Tom looked at each person in the room. She smiled when she said it. A small, tired smile. And then she went on air and interviewed a grieving parent like nothing had happened. That is who she is. That is who Nancy made her. And right now, that is who is trying to negotiate with a kidnapper, manage a national spotlight, comfort her own children, and keep breathing. All while believing that if she stops handling it perfectly, she loses the only love that ever mattered. Tom finished that part by saying something that felt like both a warning and a prayer. Savannah Guthrie is not just the co-anchor of the Today Show. She is not just a mother of two. She is not just the daughter of a missing 84-year-old woman. She is the living result of a parenting philosophy that said love is earned through invincibility. And right now she is trying to remain invincible for the one person who taught her that was the only way to be loved. He asked the group not to rush to social media with his name attached. Not yet. Let the investigation breathe. Let the deadline pass. Let the search continue. But when the time comes, when this is over, one way or another, someone needs to tell the full story. Not the crime story, the human story, the story of a daughter who has spent 4 decades trying to prove she's worthy of the woman who raised her. He ended with one last sentence. And if Nancy comes home, I hope, God, I hope she finally tells her daughter she doesn't have to prove anything anymore. That was the heart of what Tom Brokaw shared this afternoon. No fanfare, no press conference, no headline grab, just an 86-year-old man who has seen almost everything, finally saying what he has watched for years. Savannah Guthrie is not only fighting to save her mother's life, she is fighting to preserve the only version of love she has ever known how to receive. And that fight is taking everything she has left. Tomorrow, the clock keeps moving. The search keeps moving. The tips keep coming in. But tonight, wherever you are, take a moment. Look at those videos again. See the daughter who is still trying to get it right. See the woman who is still trying to make her mother proud. See the little girl who still believes that strength is the price of being loved. And say Nancy's name one more time. Because if she comes home, when she comes home, Savannah is going to need more than a safe return. She's going to need permission to finally lay down the armor she's worn since childhood. Tom Brokaw at 86 finally said it out loud so the rest of us could see it. Now it's our turn to carry it. Bring Nancy home. And when she does, let Savannah finally hear the words she's waited 46 years to hear. You don't have to be perfect anymore. You never did.